All right, so back to the drawing board. We've got to set some sort of rate tonight. So
I moved to 11:55.
we have a motion for 11:55. Do we have any kind of second to that?
I vote for 0 because we don't have a budget.
Are you serious, Paul?
Yes. I would prefer a budget that is actual what it costs to run the hospital, as opposed to having 3 different budgets thrown at me with 3 different percentages and showing 3 different in 3 different ways where the revenue for the 501A changes based on the tax rate. How is that possible?
Why 0, Paul?
Because I don't have any budget which shows me what I should be charging people. What I have is this made-up thing that I don't really call a budget, and this budget doesn't comply with the health and safety code nor our own bylaws. Now,
You can say it's not.
Maybe
You're crazy. I'm saying you're probably right.
Well, and I would consider that we were asked several times, what did we want to see? Mr. Honey and Mr. Reynolds asked us several times.
And we've told them every time we want to see it without the taxes included, and they never gave it to us. The taxes are included in every single one of these budgets.
It's a separate amount.
Mr. Harper, if you look at it, it shows you the net operating income. You know, that is our budget without the tax revenue in it.
Right.
And you'll see that it has a shortfall, consolidated shortfall of $1,676,986.
Right, and you don't see the shortfall before the tax revenues added. You see, what you see is you see the -1.6, and then you see the bond payment principles, you see the capital expenditures, and then you add in the tax revenue before you do the net income loss. The tax revenue shouldn't be included in there at all. We should know exactly what it costs to run this place, and we could discover a tax revenue that it actually costs to run it. And fund it properly, as opposed to screwing this department and that department because we want to cut corners here and there to make the budget look good.
I can tell you that the expenses to run the hospital, the budget expenses for the year ending 9/30/15 is $20,759,403.
According to this budget that you say is a budget?
Well, yes, according to the budget. And that is, if you look at the revenues, the gross revenues from all services, from the hospital, inpatient, outpatient, and from our physician practices, we expect to generate revenue of $48,203,207. Now, the other thing is the big number, which is the discounts and allowances, which is the difference between what we charge and what Medicare, Medicaid, and the other managed care entities pay us, plus our bad debts, plus our charity. That number is $32,243,023, giving us a net revenue, that revenue which we expect to collect in cash, of $15,960,184. And when you look at that compared to the anticipated expenses, we have a shortfall of, not including taxes, of $4,799,219.
What I'm saying is, this budget, what you're calling a budget, this doesn't comply with the budget that's defined in the health and safety code and in our own bylaws. There's certain things that are supposed to be included in this for it to be called a budget, and they don't have it.
Well, but let's make a list for Michael and see if we can get better.
Why don't we just let Paul do it? He seems to be the expert here on everything. Paul, come on.
Okay, 286-124 of Texas Health and Safety Code, section 286-124. The administrator of the district shall prepare a proposed annual budget for the district. The proposed budget must contain a complete financial statement, including a statement of the outstanding obligations of the district, the amount of cash on hand to the credit of each fund of the district. That's not included in this budget at all. The amount of money received by the district from all sources during the previous year. That's not included in this budget. The amount of money available to the district from all sources during the ensuing year. The amount of money, the amount of balances expected at the end of the year in which the budget is being prepared. The estimated amount of revenues and balances available to cover the proposed budget, and the estimated property tax rate that will be required if the district imposes a property tax. That's what's required to be in this budget, and you don't have it in here. So I don't see why everybody keeps saying this is a budget when according to Texas Health and Safety Code, section 286, it's not. And so how can we go and set a tax rate for a budget when the budget itself is not valid?
You won't listen, Paul. You hear what you want to hear. Did you hear earlier we're talking about a maximum tax rate? We have to do that. That's what we're trying to do tonight, and you're trying to not do it.
I just don't understand why we don't,
You don't understand it, that's why you don't read it.
Let me just say this, we prepared the same budget last year that we prepared this year, and we had a financial audit, at the end of the year, and there was no findings by the auditing firm related to our budgeting process.
All of the additional bank balances and all of those items will be included. When you approve the final budget, what you will have in front of you is all the tabs that shall have been included, about 50 pages of tabs, actually a little bit more, it's about 60 or 70. You'll have an FTE budget that will include all the pages this is a snapshot that I prepared because the full binder, it's a binder about this big that you'll get to look through that includes all of those items. I can prepare one for each and every one of you if you would like.
See, I'm expecting if we're going to set a proposed tax rate, that's not a proposed budget, that's real. Not just make up numbers that satisfy whatever we need to spend the money on.
I'm going to take exception, Mr. Harper, to making up numbers. I'm a certified public accountant. I know how to put a budget together, and I take exception to
I'm going to go back to you after this meeting. I'll bring you the documentation to show you what I'm questioning. Because in the two budgets that you guys brought us, if you go look and you look at the total discounts and allowances for 501A, that number changed based on the tax rate. And that number shouldn't change based on the tax rate. It should be a number set in stone. And I don't think that, you say that, and I don't disagree with your accountant and your numbers and all that. I'm saying those numbers shouldn't be different if it's a proper budget. That number should be the same no matter what the tax rate is. If that expenditure is that, it should be the same no matter what the tax rate is.
the tax rate is below the line, and below the line means it is below the net operating income. The net operating income includes the revenues and the expenses associated with running the hospital.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying the numbers have changed based on the tax rate, and I don't think that should be possible.
I take exception to that. The numbers may have changed, but they did not change based on what the effective, whatever tax rate we projected. If the numbers changed after we met with the Finance Committee and got their input, we've gone back and we have done several different revisions to the budget, both to the 501A budget and the hospital budget, but those revisions have been made based on the input from the Finance Committee, not from the amount of tax that we will or will not receive.
And during those committees, we requested changes in the revenue amounts and changes in the expense amounts to be calculated so we could see if they were different. That's why we spent all those hours going over them.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
What was the motion?
Just said that 11:55.
Set it at 11:55. Work on the budget until we have our public hearing, get the public's input and comments, and then set whatever our permanent rate is at either 11:55 or below. And so I look at this as just one of the steps that we're going to take to get to our final budget. This is not carved in stone. We're going to make it 11:55. And matter of fact, I don't think we can raise it above 11:55 without.
Reposting, which we did really, you can't, because we don't have time.
We don't have the time to do it. So instead of 12, we're talking about setting the maximum rate at 11:55.
They're not going to listen, folks.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second? The motion dies for lack of a second.